Welcome to Michael Zane Trustee's Track Talk, where every track tells a story. In the early 1980s, Kenny Rogers was already one of the biggest names in country music. His voice was smooth, his songs were timeless, and his audience stretched far beyond the country charts. But when Lionel Richie, then still the frontman of the Commodores, handed Kenny a song called Lady, it set the stage for one of the most legendary ballads of all time, and a recording session that nearly ended before it began. The story starts in 1980. Kenny Rogers was looking for something different, a crossover song that could not only top the country charts, but also break through in pop music in a big way. Lionel Richie, who had been dabbling in writing outside the Commodores, had been working on a ballad called Lady. Originally, Lionel had written the song with the Commodores in mind, but he never finished it. He'd shelved it for years. That is, until Kenny Rogers came calling. Kenny and Lionel had met briefly before, but they weren't close friends. Still, Kenny's management reached out to see if Lionel had any songs that might fit his voice. Lionel said, "I've got this one ballad I've never finished, but if you want it, I'll finish it for you." So Lionel sent Kenny a rough demo, just Lionel at the piano. And when Kenny heard it, he was floored. The melody was gorgeous, and the first verse alone was enough to hook him. But there was one small problem. The song wasn't done. Lionel flew out to meet Kenny and finish the writing, and that's where things got tense. You see, Lionel had a very specific vision for how Lady should sound. The arrangement, the tempo, the phrasing, while Kenny, a seasoned recording artist, had his own instincts. When they got into the studio, those visions started to clash. Lionel, being used to the Commodore's style, wanted to keep the song silky and soulful. Kenny wanted to bring in more drama and build, something that would hit hard on both country and pop radio. It reached a point where Kenny actually walked out of the studio. Not in anger at Lionel personally, but in frustration that the song wasn't coming together the way he felt it should. For a moment, Lady, a song that would become one of the greatest hits in music history, was in danger of being scrapped. But here's where professionalism kicked in. Lionel followed Kenny, and the two of them talked it out. Kenny explained what he needed vocally to make the song his own. Lionel explained the emotional tone he wanted to preserve. By the end of that conversation, they were back in the studio, this time working together instead of pulling in different directions. They decided to merge their ideas. Lionel kept the silky, romantic foundation, but let Kenny add the dynamic build that made the song soar by the final chorus. And when Kenny stepped to the mic to record, magic happened. Lady was released in September 1980. It not only went to #1 on the country chart, it hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for 6 weeks. It became one of Kenny's signature songs and cemented Lionel Richie as one of the best songwriters of his generation. Looking back, Kenny would often say that Lady was the perfect marriage of two styles, country and soul, and that it never would have worked without Lionel Richie's genius, or without that tense moment when they almost lost it. Sometimes the greatest songs are born out of a little friction. Two artists pushing each other to bring out the best in the music. For Kenny Rogers and Lionel Richie, Lady wasn't just a hit. It was a defining moment for them both. This has been Michael Zane Trustee's Track Talk, where every track tells a story.